Welcome to the Mixology of Real Estate, where agents talk about the recipes that work to build a successful business while mixing the perfect cocktail. Welcome your host, Stephen Botino.
Welcome to another episode of Mixology Real Estate, back here at the Oak City Meatball Shop in downtown Raleigh. I'm your host, Stephen Botino, and I'm here with Louis Bainan, one of our agents in our Fuquay office, and loving the t-shirt, came prepared. I love it. And then today we're going to talk about knowing your value as an agent. And what I mean by knowing your value is how much value do you put on your commission. And we've heard a lot about the lower paid commissions now on listings from different builders, or and some agents going as low as $1 for paying the buyer's agent. But reality, we know, right, that we cannot have a fixed price in the market. So we need to understand what our value is to the client and what we're asking the client to pay us. And Louis is going to take us through that, because Louis has become very, very good at doing that and earning his value. And we are going to make...
We're going to be making a Gibson today.
A Gibson?
A Gibson.
All right.
It's one of the very few cocktails that changes its name based on the change in the garnish. So that's the only difference, is the change in the garnish changes the name of the cocktail.
Interesting. We'll have to get more into that later.
Sure.
So why don't you start taking us through how we make this beautiful concoction?
Sure. It's a very simple cocktail. We started by icing and watering down a couple of martini glasses. So we can just go ahead and dump these out.
All right. I always like my glasses cold when I'm making a cocktail.
And we're going to start with gin. I prefer Hendrick's. It's a very wonderful gin if you've never had the opportunity to try it. And we're going to start with about 1.5 ounces of the gin.
So while you're mixing that, so when did you start actually asking clients to pay a certain amount, especially on the buy side?
Yeah. So it's been about 4 years now. I've been licensed since 2008, and for about the first 10 years of my career, I just accepted whatever the offer of cooperation was. And I was fortunate enough to be on a team, and the team leader taught me how to ask for an amount of commission and compensation that we expect to earn as a buyer's agent. You know, when you asked me to talk about this subject, I got thinking about my wife, who happens to be a nurse, and I thought, how strange would it be if she went to work every day and she didn't know if she was going to make $10 an hour, $20 an hour, or $30 an hour. I mean, that's just incomprehensible. She knows what her value is, and that's what they compensate her. So why wouldn't we as agents also have the confidence to understand our value and ask to be compensated accordingly?
Exactly. It's how we pay attorneys differently, we pay doctors differently. People know their value, their experience, what they're bringing to the table. So absolutely, sure. I 100% agree with that. So we've got some gin, we got some gin going.
We've got some gin going. I should have thrown a little ice in here first. Even
we can do that. I can do ice.
Should have thrown a little ice in here, but we don't want to let this ice sit too long. And then we're going to add just a small splash of dry vermouth. And I'm not even going to measure it. We're just going to...
A little splash.
It's literally just a splash.
I like these cocktails with simple ingredients and just enjoy the actual gin itself.
Yeah, I think it was last year I was watching the series Queen's Gambit, and that was the drink that
was a great
the
show.
main character's mother drank all the time. And it reminded me that that's also what my father drank pretty regularly when I was a child growing up. So we're going to stir this just a few times, right? And we've already emptied our water out. And then we're just going to strain this into the glass.
Wow, look at that. Nice and clean.
Nice and clean, very simple. And again, what I said earlier is that this drink only changes based on the garnish. So actually, it's basically just a martini, but instead of being served with an olive, it's served with a cocktail onion.
So just like that?
Just
that could
like
be
that.
Just an olive? All right.
Yep, that's the only difference. So it's basically just a martini, but the garnish are cocktail onions.
Awesome. Well, you only made one of these.
Well, we've got to make another one.
Yeah, because we got to drink. So while you're making another one, so we can try this together. So what happens? What's the process when you get in front of a client? And do you have a set value you give yourself as a buyer's agent, and what's that process you go through?
Yeah. So when I'm explaining the exclusive buyer agency agreement form, I explained to them that commissions are not set in stone because that would be in violation of Sherman antitrust laws. And so agents can choose to charge whatever they would like, be it 2%, 4%, 10%. It's up to the agent to decide what their value is and what they should be compensated. And so I have decided that I'm worth 3%. And so when I sign buyers to the exclusive buyer agency agreement, I choose to charge 3% for my services.
Did you have a reason for 3% or just?
I think it's just because we used to see quite a few listings being offered at 2.4, 2.5, and 3%. And as the years have gone on, we're seeing fewer and fewer that are offering 3%. And it's other agents being greedy on the listing side, or other agents who don't understand their value and are underselling their listing commissions, thereby providing us lower commissions. And so why should I be subjected to another agent's
Good point. Again,
decisions?
knowing your value, what you're bringing to the table
Absolutely.
for your buyers. Perfect.
Let's see, we have that in there. We're going to add just a splash of vermouth.
So so obviously you have to have that conversation with the buyer. So how does that conversation transpire, and how do you get them to accept the fact that they're going to be paying 3% or potentially paying some out of their pocket? Because like you mentioned, the sell side might be offering less cooperation.
Correct. So many times the listing is not offering 3%, and they're only offering, say, 2.4 or 2.5. And I just explained that there may be a small charge in their closing costs to offset any difference from what is being offered.
Okay. So you're going through the agency agreement, you get to that part of the compensation piece of that,
Right.
and then you're writing in that 3%.
Correct.
Right, and you're explaining that I can get paid whatever that cooperation is, this is what my value is, and you're going to end up paying the difference.
Right. I explained to them that offers of cooperation, although not set, typically range anywhere from 2% to 3.5%. I did see a 3.5 a couple years ago, and so I used that. And so I just explained to them that my services are worth 3%. And
do you get any pushback, objections to that?
I get very little pushback, very little pushback, and typically it occurs as we approach closing, and when a loan officer or a escrow agent has failed to include the additional commission. That belongs on the buyer's side.
And then it becomes a question at that point.
Then it becomes a little bit of a conversation. Grab me one of those toothpicks.
Yeah, we got a toothpick here. There you go. So, that's really good, because a lot of times we're too afraid as agents to actually ask for the money, right? So by actually going through, and Lewis, what he didn't explain is how well he goes through the working with real estate agency brochure, the buyer agency brochure, explaining all the steps to the process to them and why there is agency and why there's separate buyer agency agreement versus a seller agency agreement, and how those two parties work together, and that he's there to protect the buyer's best interest, to get the best deal for the buyer. And I think that helps you quite a bit in earning the 3%, versus just passing right through it really quickly and not understanding, or I would say not understanding, but explaining the value of what they're paying for. Just like if you're a defense attorney and you're charging $500 an hour because you have a great record of success, right, of helping your clients, versus someone maybe just starting out charging $200 an hour because they haven't really earned that $500 an hour level, which you, and I've seen it in action, have earned that 3% for what you do for your clients.
Yeah, thank you. To your point, I explain the compensation to the firm very clearly to the buyers. This isn't just slide the form under their nose and have them pencil whip a signature. They have a clear understanding that there may be a charge on their side of the closing statement to compensate the firm for its commission.
And what's interesting is Lewis is not the only person I've run across to in our firm or other people out there that do this, because, I mean, we just don't think to ask. We're always too afraid to lose the buyer or the seller. So by asking, we think, oh my God, they might not use us, so therefore I'm not going to ask for my value. And in today's world, things are shifting. The day we're going to get paid 2.4% or 2.5% or 3% on the buy side, it's not going to be there. It's already being chipped away. And it's our job as buyers agents, and even on the listing side, to know our value and ask for the price that we're worth. And I appreciate that you're doing this, and I think that a lot of it's practice. right? You just didn't wing it and step up for your first time, start asking. You practice it. You learn the contracts extremely well, so you can explain them well and point different things out instead of breezing through it. And almost every transaction he does close, he does get that 3%.
Absolutely.
Which is good for him and it's good for the firm too, and I love it. So let's try this drink.
Cheers.
So cheers. Delicious. Love it. So, hey, thanks again. I think there's a lot of value for the agents out there. We got to understand what our value is. We got to charge our worth. So I appreciate a lot of great insight here. So thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
we'll
Stephen.
see you again next time on Mixology Real Estate.